Holly Cotton here, and I say every time that I find a woman that is doing something motivational, inspirational, pushing people to be the best versions of themselves, I want to hear their story and I want to be able to take some of their story and inspire other people. So, I have Miss Grace Redman today, who is an entrepreneur, success coach, and speaker with a passion for guiding entrepreneurs and high performers to shatter their self imposed glass ceilings and elevate their success. So I'm excited because I'm an entrepreneur and a woman and all of those things. So I cannot wait to hear Grace's story. So welcome, Grace.
Thank you so much, Holly. I'm super excited to be here with you.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay. So before we go into all of the things that you're doing, obviously there is something that pushed you into this role. So kind of go back, give us the backstory of how this became where you are in life right now.
Thank you. Sounds great. So I've owned and managed a staffing agency for the last 25 years. And about 10 years ago, I just felt a little bit of a nudge. I was feeling, bored and unfulfilled. And a big part of the staffing was coaching my team, my clients. And so I thought, let me go back to school and get professionally trained to do the coaching because it's something that I love to do. And anyway, I've been listening to Tony Robbins since I was 15. So I've been that go-to person my whole life, right? Everyone comes to you with their stuff. I know that's you too, Holly.
That me too. I'm like, hey, if they do it, I know I can do it as well.
Right.
What do I need to do?
Right. And so I went 10 years ago, I went back to get, coach certified, and I had these just major life transformations. And that's when I was like, okay, I need to share this. And that's, I don't even know how just everything just started to unfold. And then here I am today, but I just kept answering the nudge. And the transformation just kept happening and things just kept unfolding. And it's been an incredible ride and very humbling and very healing at the same time.
And I always tell people that when you're walking in your purpose, everything just aligns with what you're doing. So people will see that you have all these different avenues of the same thing that you're trying to do, but it's like I'm where I'm supposed to be.
Yes.
So everything just gravitates towards me. So
Yes.
I know you have something similar to that. So I know that we just talked. First, I also wanted to rewind because I am a huge cancer advocate as a breast cancer survivor. And then also, I am the spokesperson for this initiative for prostate cancer. So, we're doing tons of stuff because that's in September. So, I know that you two have the survivor story, unfortunately, to tell. So, can you kind of give us that? Because a lot of times when I talk to cancer survivors, I feel that you really hone in on I have to find my purpose because I'm still here for a reason and now I need to make this other part of whatever is left of my life impactful. So is that kind of like your story? Share as much as you want.
Sure, absolutely. So 2 years ago, I had to have a thyroidectomy because of cancerous growths on my thyroid. And they told me that I would never be the same again. My health would decline. And I was like, "Oh, do you know who you're talking about? No, that's not happening. I didn't come this far because I had just launched, I was just about to launch my book as well. And I was like, I didn't come this far for you to tell me like I'm never going to be the same again. And so I have spent the last 20 months really getting emotionally, mentally, physically, and spiritually fit. And it hasn't been easy, but I'll tell you what, I feel better today than I ever have. And my purpose really is to get the message out there, especially being Palestinian American. We've really struggled the last 10 months with what's happening, and I really became terrified to show up. And so I once I kind of got over that fear, it's really important. Yes, the purpose is show up and be the best that you can be, to have a voice and to show what's possible, not only for
Mm.
my immediate family, for my husband and my children, but for my community.
That's an interesting perspective of it. But yes, you're right, because everyone is looking at you, and when you have a voice, everyone is like, okay, so what you gonna do with this voice? Like you,
Right.
okay. So are you speaking for everyone? Are you going to make the change? Are you going to do stuff? It's a lot of pressure that comes on whenever you do get some of that publicity. Or do you have any input on that?
Sure, sure. Yes, there is pressure that comes on. And what I've learned is each person has their role. And so sometimes it's hard for someone to speak up, and there's no judgment around that. So I say, well, wherever you're at, like if you're in a corporate position, then be the best that you can be and show up the best that you can. Because sometimes
Mm.
it is hard to have that voice. And I'm not here to judge anyone. That's why it's just be the best that you can be and keep showing up in your sector, whatever that might be. You don't have to be an activist, or you don't have to be political. It's just about being the best that you can be and not being afraid and hiding in the back. Just come out, whatever it is that you're doing, be the best at it, and find the best you in here.
Mm. Now, are you still in corporate America, or are you just entrepreneur full time?
I've been an entrepreneur. I mean, I definitely work with corporate America,
Okay.
but I've been an entrepreneur for 25 years now.
Okay. All right. Just asking, because I know sometimes you get different perspectives and points of view from, because I've always been in corporate. I'm still in corporate America. So I sometimes I come in and it's hard whenever you're so structured with all of these policies and procedures, and then when you're an entrepreneur, no one is regulating anything you're doing. So if you don't get it done, you you, you have no one to blame but yourself. So
That's true.
how, yeah, so how are you, like whenever someone comes in or someone comes to you and they just find you on Instagram or LinkedIn or social media, some other avenue, and they're like, "Hi, Grace. I listen, you're a life coach. I'm an entrepreneur. I need you to help me. Can you help me?" Like so what are some of the ways that you start initially saying, "Okay, let's break this down," or let's put this in place? How do you address that when someone comes to you as an entrepreneur and they're saying, "I need some coaching"?
Sure, sure. Well, first thing is I want to know what's your present state. What are you going through right now? How are you feeling? Where do you feel you're stuck? So I just want to get to your present state. Okay. Now, what's your desired state? How do you want to feel?
Mhm.
And really, can you see yourself in that present state for the next year? No. Okay. So what are we going to do? And it takes action, right, to get to the present state. And we're constantly creating our lives based on our actions. And so kind of also getting into the habits, because your habits got you in this present state that's not working for you. And that's where we start. Let's start, what the present state is, what's your desired state, and what's the gap. And we really need to also dig into the belief system, because that's key.
That sounds like what I always tell people, no matter what it is that I'm speaking about. I always say, let's start with some accountability,
Yes.
because everyone is already, this is not going this way, this is not going that way, this is not. And I love the way that you said it. Like, where do you want to be? Because accountability is huge whenever you're trying to figure out where you want to be, because you're doing something to keep. I talk all the time about relationships, because I my last two books are about relationships,
Saw
and
that.
I'm like, okay, so why do you keep choosing the wrong person? Like,
Hmm.
even if they come at you and they're trying to court you or date you, it's like, but you give them the opportunity, so something is not right here. Why do you keep picking the wrong guys?
Totally. And if we don't do the work, then I'm going to leave one relationship, go into the next. It's going to be the same, patterns, just a different face and name.
Hmm. I love it. I love it. So yeah, I'm always like, and accountability, and
Right?
accountability. And what
Yes.
about accountability?
Right. And what was my part?
Yeah,
And
because it, and I call it my growth journey, because
mhm,
I went through all of, I guess, going from where I was to where I am now. I call it my growth journey,
mm,
because I feel that I've learned how to communicate. I've taken accountability. I've said, "Ooh, you know what? old Holly was not the best person on this, but new Holly is. So
I love
it's
that.
hard when you look at yourself and you're like, maybe that's because I did
Ugh,
this.
it is so hard because I remember, well, I grew up in an environment where there was a victim mentality, but I did not know that was a victim mentality until one time my therapist was like, okay, that's a victim mentality. I'm like, well, what does that mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh, had no clue. And so now I'm all about, okay, Victor, like this, I'm not a victim. What's my part? How can I take accountability and make the changes? Because I can't change anyone or control anyone but myself.
This is true. That's the biggest struggle. Grace, I'm gonna have you. We're gonna talk about some relationships because we're gonna get together. But first, I want to talk about you before we fix everyone else. Okay. You had me at the ceilings, but let's talk about the three C's of
Mm.
success. So, what exactly are the three C's of success?
So it's real for me, it's commitment, consistency, and connection. And that connection is to myself and a higher power, whatever that may be to you. Because if you're not committed and consistent and connected to yourself, you're spinning in circles
Mm.
because you're not going to go to the gym, once a week and get on one machine and then come back next week and get another machine. I mean, what's the result? How are you going to get results?
Right. So, whenever you say, let's talk about the three C's. So, say I come to you as just a regular entrepreneur. I just started a business, or maybe I have an established business and I've sort of plateaued, and I see that you say three C's of success. And so, how would you, in like concrete terms, sort of give me a plan or tell me how I'm
Sure.
actually supposed to implement that into my strategy?
For sure. So number one, I guess connected to yourself. Do you have clarity? Are you clear on what your why is? And
Hmm.
typically for us to gain clarity and be clear on our why, we really have to be connected to our inner self. Okay. And then what are the actions that, what is your goal? Okay. What are the actions that are necessary? Now we need to be committed and consistent to those actions. And so we'll kind of get down, okay, what's the goal? Okay. What are let's start with three things that need to be done. These are the three core actions. And then now you need to be committed and consistent to those. Because I think a lot of people want instant gratification because right now our society is so like everything, you have everything you want in a snap. However, the mental, emotional, spiritual, physical, financial fitness doesn't come overnight. You really need to be committed and consistent with the actions you take. And oftentimes you're not going to see results right away. And you got to
Mm.
just really, when you're connected to yourself, and you have, believe and you have that purpose, then, and there's another C, the courage. And then you have the courage to stay committed and consistent to those actions.
Mm. Writing it down. Thank you, Grace. Taking notes, taking notes. Okay, so self-imposed glass ceilings, because I am
Mhm.
someone who I see no ceilings. I'm the most unrealistic realistic person that
I
there
love
is.
that.
I don't think anything is unobtainable. I'm like,
Yes.
how they did that? Let me figure that out. So,
Right.
but I do know that I struggle sometimes because I may not be on the same level with someone who puts, I believe, you're going to tell us what it is, but I believe they put a self imposed glass ceiling. So it's so hard for them to see how I'm working because they are limiting themselves. So, what is a self imposed glass ceiling?
So, we live 95% of our lives based on these unconscious limiting beliefs that live like below the surface that we're not even aware of, right? And so we're doing the work and we reach a certain level of success and then we kind of hit here.
Mm.
We hit that glass ceiling. And I've learned that it's because of these narratives and stories that we tell ourselves that sabotage us, but we're not even aware of it. So when I work with my clients, what we want to do is start unraveling, like, what are the stories that you tell yourself? Now, are they true? Because typically the stories and narratives are not true. They were created, when we were children to help keep us safe. And so once we can unravel that, the belief system that, those negative stories, then that's when you can start breaking through your glass ceiling. Because what we don't realize, we created that glass ceiling, not realizing it, maybe out of fear, out of safety. And so once you're aware and you have your belief system and you start unraveling it, then you can start pushing through that, because you're right, anything is possible. We create our limitations.
So, what's a common glass ceiling that you see in some of the people that you're consulting?
Well, a lot of it comes around money.
Mm.
And you know you have to work really hard for, you have to earn it, you have to deserve it. Money doesn't grow on trees. And so they have this belief around money that's a lack belief. And so even though they're doing the work, but because they believe, money is, hard to obtain, or, money is evil, they just get stuck here.
Mm.
And
Mm.
I don't know. I really believe that, money's energy, and it's really tied to our worth. The more, like, you believe in yourself, and grounded in your self-worth, the more open you'll be to receive money, because it's really energy.
Hmm. That's an interesting perspective. Yeah, I tell people all the time, like, I just had someone recently and she said, she was like, I think if you posted like how much money you really make or how well off you're doing in life, that you would get more respect, or maybe I said, okay, first of all, that is not my brand, and
I
that will
feel you.
never be my brand. My mission is to be the change. My mission is to make the world a better place. Money, yes, it's great to have
It
money,
is.
but that is not my mission or my purpose. So I will never be the person going and showing money and doing this or whatever, like I don't know. So I said I can only follow the path that I'm supposed to be on, and that's not the path. So I
Mhm.
think, so for me, I was like, if I did that and I started posting, oh, I just bought a property, I did this, that's a glass ceiling that I think I would put on myself, because now I have to prove that that was for this. Now I got to trump that. Now I got to do another thing for that. And I don't want to have that. I like people thinking I'm poor and desolate.
And I feel you. And and you get to choose. You get to be discerning on how you show up. And I feel you. I'm not that way anyway. And that doesn't mean that we cannot, create successful businesses
Hmm.
and be in a place of abundance. And again, it has to be in alignment. And so that wouldn't be in alignment for me either,
Hmm. See?
because I have a belief that's like, you know, there has to be, for me, I feel better, being humble. And
Mhm.
yes, we want to show that we are living great lives, but I'm not going to be the one that's going to be show opening a box of red bottoms. I'm like, look what I
Yeah,
got.
or the money
That's
down
not
my
me.
arm like this, like the rappers do.
Yeah. And so, but it doesn't mean that we're not going to be successful,
Mhm.
or, attract, because there's nothing wrong with wealth,
Mhm.
especially for us women, because when us women create wealth, what we do with it is we put it back into the community,
Mhm.
and we give back. So, but yes,
That is
and
that
again,
is
what's the
definitely
intention?
true. That
Yes.
we're like the biggest philanthropists, I swear.
Yes.
Okay, so back to you, Grace, because I want to make sure I get all your questions asked. Okay, so adversity. Let's go into adversity,
Mhm.
because we both already talked about being cancer survivors and then going through that, and also being women, which I think being a woman sometimes is a big adversity because you have to.
Can't be, yes.
It's not fair. But anywho, I digress. And then being a beautiful woman doesn't help at all. So whenever you're talking about adversity, how can we thrive when we are facing adversity?
That's a great question. It's so funny because when I started my career in staffing 25 years ago, it was typically a male dominated industry where 75% of people who entered the industry failed. And I've had the question, how did it feel to be in a male dominated industry? And I said, I never even thought about it. I didn't even think about, my gender as being a limitation. And I believe that when I was 10 years old, I loved watching Rocky Balboa. I
Mhm.
loved watching Rocky. And believe it or not, that just it impacted me because I would play Eye of the Tiger over and over on my cassette. Now I'm aging myself,
I still
right? On
do
my
when I'm
cassette,
on the treadmill or the
okay?
stair stepper.
Right?
Eye of the Tiger
Eye of the
comes on.
Tiger,
I'm
girl.
running up the stairs.
Yes. Eye of the Tiger. And so as a little girl, as a 10-year-old little girl, I would play that song over and over after watching the movie because Rocky would get beat down and he'd come right back up.
Mhm.
And so and I'm getting emotional. I mean, I've had some really challenging times. When I was 19 years old and I started therapy, 25 years later, because I saw the same lady, she told me when she met me when I was 19 in therapy, she didn't think there was any hope for me. And so how I overcame adversity was I didn't quit. Like, did I get knocked down? Yes. Did I go through depression? Yes. Did I feel crappy? Yes. But I didn't go down. Like, I fell down 100 times and I got up 101 times. And I know that doesn't sound so easy, but that's what I did. There was no option. I get up.
I love that. And also I want to say that I'm so happy she didn't tell you that when you were in the moment. Like I'm glad she waited 25 years later to
Yeah.
say it because the worst thing is whenever you're going through something and someone says,
Right.
you're not going to make it through this or you can't do that or there's no way you're going to pull through this. I hate when people do that. And me coming from being, like I said, my trade is nursing, and there's so many times where I've been in the room and I've heard the doctor say, like you said the doctor said, and there's a fine line between being realistic and being discouraging. And I think that a lot of people don't differentiate between the two, because when you're speaking something to someone, people can absorb that and that can be their
Absolutely.
reality. So I try to always say, eh, this could happen. Let's hope for this, but this could, because I
Right.
want you to be prepared. But this is where we're going.
I agree. And something with me, if you tell me I can't, well, watch me. And so that was very helpful. Just having that resilience was helpful. And then as I'm on this journey, now in my 50s, when I look back and I see everything that I overcame, that creates resilience and confidence. And, we're going through a little bit of a challenge now, and I don't feel the fear that I may have felt 5 years ago or 10 years ago, because as I look back and I connect the dots of my life, I see that, yes, there are challenges and it works out.
Well, I'll tell you this, anyone who has Eye of the Tiger since 10 as their theme song should not be messed with. So I love it. I love it. Okay, so last question I have, and I know I also want you to talk about your book and your projects and everything that
Thank
you
you.
have going on as well. But how does letting go of our intended results contribute to achieving success?
That's a great question. And I really, I'm constantly working on that. So when I'm tied to, the end result, like I'm in a place of resistance. And I've learned that when I just surrender and I say, okay, Grace, you're taking the steps that you need to, the how will come, and just let go. Because when I'm so like stuck on that and I really want it, it's really that resistance is keeping it from coming to me. And so when I surrender, I'm like, okay, like I'm open. I'm open. I am taking these actions and I'm open to what's going to happen. You allow the opportunities and possibilities to come to you.
Mm.
I surrender that control. Because when we're trying to control something, we're in a place of like resistance, and we know what happens. It's just we knock up against, ourselves, and that's part of the self-imposed glass ceiling.
Hmm. Hmm. Taking notes there, Grace. Thank you for that. I'm absorbing and receiving all of that.
You're the
So
best.
tell us about, I know you said you were working on a book or you have a book. And so
Mhm.
tell us about your
Yes.
book. Tell us about your projects. Like, what are you working on? What are you doing? Tell
Sure.
us about what Grace does.
Thank you. So, literally 2 months after I had my thyroidectomy and they told me I'd never be the same again, I launched my book, Dare to Go from Effed Up to Fabulous. Can I Live? And that was very fun and very exciting. And in that book, I really talk about, because remember, she met me when she was 19, she thought I had no
Hmm.
hope. So I said, okay, well, here I am, so can I live? How did I go from effed up to fabulous? And so I really take all of the principles that helped me get to where I am today. So you could read the book. You don't have to read it from front to end. You can just pick it up in the morning, read a chapter or read, a passage. And so that's what's been fun about the book. So you can find it on Amazon, or you can reach out and we can send you a copy. And also I have Real Talk with Grace Redman, my podcast, which I'd love to share you with my audience because you're amazing. And during the pandemic, I missed connecting with people on a regular basis, because I would see sometimes 4 to 6 people a day, strangers, in my firm, in my coaching. And so I miss that. And I said, we have so many incredible people in the community that don't get highlighted.
Hmm.
And so my podcast is about incredible people in my circles and communities who've overcome challenges and really create amazing things. Because I think so many of us are focused on the negative, that we really need those inspiring stories of people like yourself who are overcoming challenges and doing great things. And it is possible. So that's why I love the podcast. And also, like you, I've also now started speaking in our community. So I'm available for speaking engagements, and I love volunteering in the community. Like I'm working Burlingame on the Avenue next week, and continuing to do my coaching. And so just for me, it's about service and connecting and helping others. So that fills me.
I love that. I love that. Yeah, same. That's my whole mission in life. I'm here for a reason, and it's not just to sit around and take selfies or go be a bedside nurse. Like, I'm here for a reason, and I'm going to make sure that
Yes,
in
girl.
every room I walk in, I am impacting someone's life for the positive instead of the negative. So, same.
Yes, I'm
Yes,
with you.
love that. I love that. Okay, so Grace, I know you gave us your book, your title, and then your podcast, but how can people find you, like, subscribe, support you, website information, and be sure to spell it out because some
Yes.
people don't read the podcast notes at, I don't know why, but some people won't scroll
Okay.
down to half an inch and read the clickable links. So spell it out.
Awesome. Thank you. So you can find me at www.graceredman.com, and that's GRACEREDMAN.com. And you could also find me LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, on YouTube. Same thing, Grace Redman, and I will pop up and I'll be there. So www.graceredman.com. And if you have any questions, or if you're interested in a copy of the book, please don't hesitate to reach out. I'm happy to
Well,
share.
thank you. And thank you for sharing your story. Again, I definitely absorbed a lot of that positive energy. I love it. I love it. So thank you for sharing your story.
Oh, thank you, Holly, for having me. It's been amazing and
Of
fun.